That's a mic too, so.
Do I have to wear it?
She said it's been very.
Walden didn't have his on. He didn't have his on. Walden didn't have his on. You did? Oh. Okay. So, I guess we're going to go ahead and start. I am teaching show sheet management. So that'll be good. We do, or I guess I'd introduce myself. My name is Chase McGolden. I'm the ag teacher out at Ripley. Ripley's 15, 20 minutes from here. So I kind of get the pleasure of living close to Stillwater, but also kind of that, Class A type school system. And so originally I'm from Fairview, which is northwest Oklahoma. My family and I raise show sheep, club lambs, sell sheep, across the state and across the nation. And something I really enjoy doing. I really enjoy the sheep side of it. At times it gets stressful, tough, and discouraging, but there's a lot of times that it's really good. And so talking show sheep management, and I do clinics and stuff for Weaver and some of them, and so I do some of these where we actually have the live animal in front of us, and we can talk clipping and talk certain things. I don't think they'd approve if we brought one in today, so we're going to kind of leave it pretty open-ended for you guys. And as we do those things or do these things, I really encourage you guys to ask questions, because that's the best way I know to try to answer, if I can, what you guys want to know. And so as we get kind of going through this, if you guys have questions, just yell it out, and you don't have to raise your hand or anything. So just let me know. But in terms of show sheep management, we do some different things at Ripley, just trying to make it budget friendly. I know that every livestock world that we're seeing now, with the abilities of online sales, as a buyer, I hate online sales. I despise them. They take forever, and they never end. As a seller, I love online sales because they take forever and they never end, and that's a positive. So when we're buying or we're purchasing animals, we've got about 35 sheep on feed right now, and I think I bought 2 online, and the rest of them have been all off the farm live purchases. The 2 that we bought online were sheep that we had seen right before that, and so it wasn't as much of a surprise. When you think about online sales, and you can talk to breeders and you can discuss with them, picture day is the worst day, because you're not taking one picture, and you're taking a lot of pictures, and you're putting the best picture out there that you can, and so picture day on those online sales is very, very important. There's some sheep that picture really, really easy. Those are the really good ones. There's some sheep that take forever, and so I would say when you guys start buying or purchasing or doing those things, if they have an online sale, go see them beforehand. Talk to those guys, talk to those breeders, because breeders are, they want to sell sheep, and they want to get rid of those things, as best they can. When we talk about the cost of what these things are costing anymore, I had to tell families, because we had a lot of budgets last year that were $400. We're going to go buy some $400 ones, and we won a class at the city in the crosses with a $250 one, and it was just kind of the right class at the right time. But we used to kind of be able to finagle those things and get steals, but anymore, with the cost of feed, with the cost of semen, the AI tech, the moving those things around, it's getting pretty tough, and it's tough for families to kind of see that big picture side of it, because a lot of times they just say, well, everything's gotten high, maybe they'll cut us a deal and make them cheaper, and that's not the case. And so For us, we have the ability to show in the fall and the spring, and so we combo about, I'm going to say about 95% of the sheep that we have on feed. And what I mean by that is, we buy sheep that are, I would say, off ages. So we try to buy like Februaries and Aprils. Februaries, those guys up north, they're lambing sheep in December, January, and February. And the Februaries are always the accidents. Those are the ones that they didn't AI for. That's not what they planned for. Those Februaries for us in Oklahoma, as long as we manage them correctly, we can get them to 115, 120 at Tulsa, and then we can kind of sit on them a little bit and then just roll them all the way to the spring. And for me, basically we get 2 show seasons out of 1 sheep. And so that's a big thing that we push and we do, because I think it does several different things besides the fact of, you get to save money on 2 projects into 1. But you guys know it as well as any of them. Kids are very, very busy. And when it gets to basketball season, especially at Ripley where I'm at, basketball season means it gets dark right after school. And it gets cold. And so, sheep don't get a whole lot of attention. But for us, we're able to basically, hopefully, train those sheep in the fall, and then those things are pretty easy to keep trained all the way through the show season. Primarily, we'll pick sheep up. We buy sheep. We go up north when we purchase a lot of them, not because the guys in Oklahoma don't have ones that are good enough. I think Oklahoma is a very unique state in this country in terms of raising sheep. For us, a lot of the times it just has to deal with finding the right priced ones. And those off age, those late sheep that those northerners are ready to get rid of just seem to fit a few more budgets for us. We'll buy a bunch of sheep in February, or we go up there in April. We'll come back. We will shear them one time. Frank Schwartz, I don't know if you guys know Frank. He is a professional sheep shearer, and I can take a trailer load to him, and he'll shear them all. And then we don't really shear again, until, I always say we're going to shear when we nominate, but we don't have time to, stop at a house and shear 5 of them and then go to the next house and shear 5. So we'll start shearing probably the 1st of July. And we do that for a couple reasons. Like right now they've got, an inch and a half of wool on them if they're sheared early. And, I always have families that come in and will buy a sheep and say, well, do they need to be sheared? Do they need to be cooled off? And sheep, that wool is an insulator. And so it actually keeps their body temperature pretty regulated. They do get hot sometimes. They do pant sometimes. I would too if I was standing outside all the time. But I think shearing them actually, it kind of hurts them a little bit, especially when we get into the hot in the summer, and especially if we're trying to combo sheep. Shearing does a couple things. It does make those sheep eat a little bit better, which is a positive. But it also makes sheep grow. And so if you're trying to sit on a sheep from, say he was 135, 140 at Tulsa, and you've got to roll him all the way to the spring, and we've had that situation happen, we don't shear those sheep probably until maybe the 1st of February. And that kid's always disappointed because they wanted to go to this jackpot show. It's like, well, if we shear him in January 1st and shear him January 15th and shear him February 1st, he'll be 185 pounds February 15th, and he's going to be very mature, very old, and very stale. And so, we don't shear a whole lot, just for the plain fact that we're trying to coast these sheep throughout the summer, throughout the fall, and then we're able to kind of push on them that last 30 days at what our goal show is trying to be. Talked earlier, Oklahoma is a unique place in the sheep world. If you guys have been, I'm sure to the shows. The jocks and what they do, they are the absolute best in the country. Those guys that run that many sheep, that are doing that many things, that are that good at what they do, they are very, very difficult to get around. And as a ag teacher, man, it sucks. I wish I had that much. I wish I had that much money. As a the guy that raises sheep, those guys are pretty good friends to have, because they'll come in and buy a big set of them, and you're going to be able to get rid of some, and they're going to have success with them. And so you can't really, I don't think there's a way to honestly fight it. And really, I don't know if you want to try to fight it, because it's just like, for me, I always picture it like, we see it in the show world that, man, all these jocks are so bad. But every high school softball player has a pitching coach that they go see every weekend. And they have all these traveling teams. Well, traveling teams are great. Everybody loves, I'm on this traveling team, I'm on that one. It'd be a little different if those traveling teams started playing at, the big house in the state basketball tournament. And that's where it kind of gets a little different for us. The jocks, they are really good at what they do, and they are definitely elevating the show world to another level. I mean, I looked at pictures when I was showing. Those things were hideous. I mean, they were really fine boned, really ugly, hard bodied. There was no way they were maternally good at all. But now, I guess we've got, sheep, I'd say sheep, goats, hogs, and cattle so much better in a lot of those aspects. And so, when we talk about, or when I talk to my kids, because, their goal is, hey, I want to win. I want to go win. And a lot of that time, as soon as we get our sheep, it's, all right, our goal is our county. Last year I was kind of dumb. I had 3 seniors that had worked really, really hard, since as 8th graders, starting to show, and our goal was to win the weather show, the U show, and the commercial U show at our county. And we had the reserve U, the reserve pure, the reserve commercial, and like the 3rd overall market lamb. And we had a great day, but we left really disappointed because we set our goal as the 1 hole, and that was my fault. That was very dumb of me, because that's just something. There's only one way to be happy if that's your goal, and so we set our goal as, let's make Cellular County, and then let's go from there. And we try to enjoy OYE. Emphasis on try. As ag teachers, there's sometimes it's not real enjoyable, but we try to go and enjoy OYE and go out there, and our goal is to make the cut, and if we can make the sift, then that's great. I mean, sometimes things fall into place, and you can win a lightweight class, you can win a heavyweight class, you can do something like that, but not all the time does it work like that. And so we just make those moments, cherries on top. So our goals are always, the start at a county level, and one big thing that we try to do consistently is be good at showmanship. That's another thing that the sheep world has. And how good those kids are with those camps. Those things are very beneficial to seeing kids too. They need to kind of have a little bit of extra help. Chaston puts on those you got to leave camps. I don't know if you guys have seen some of those. I highly encourage those. Those are super tough to get into, kind of expensive, but those kids eat that thing up. I mean, they absolutely love those things. And I've known Chaston forever, and never had any idea that he was going to be this show camp extraordinaire, but he does an awesome job with those things. So moving past that, I guess get into July, we'll nominate basically everything for Tulsa. In the summer months, like I said, we don't shear a whole real often. just to maintain, kind of some coverage on their skin, kind of fight flies a little bit if we can. I would say, and I talk to my kids quite a bit about this, when we talk about facilities, when I first got to Ripley, it was, we've got a pallet shed back here in the back. I think that I saw that on Walden's picture too. Facilities are very, very important. And I think, there's a lot of ways to look at that. I always tell my kids, like, hey, there's a reason Oklahoma State football has built this stadium, this practice facility. There's a reason OU has built these big things to be good at those sports, because if their facilities are good, those kids care a little bit more. Those kids try a little bit more, and they have the ability to work a little bit more. I had, like I said, a lot of my kids are very simple, little shed in the back, and that's fine. We can make those things work. Last year I had a kid that 2 years ago, I guess, she built a barn, and it was insulated, it was air conditioned, it had a TV, a bathroom, a shower. Like it's her dad's. It's gonna be her dad's place. Like he's gonna just stay away from the mom and live out there. But like he loves that place, and she worked all the time out there. It had Wi-Fi. She would do homework out there, and it was awesome. I would highly suggest 2 garage doors on each end, not just one, just for ventilation. We kind of ran into that issue a little bit, but facilities I think are very, very important. Now, not every family can afford that, which I totally get, and so you got to make adjustments where you can. We feed everything individualized. Those things are sheep are. I think that is one of the most important things. We feed them individualized. We do not feed them with the cinder block on the ground anymore. We don't feed with the 2x4s running through the panel so they have to jump over them. We don't feed on an incline, anything like that. But when we feed, it's very simple. You got 1 sheep in 1 pen, and that's a health thing for us. Just being able to see, did they eat? Did they drink? Are they scouring? What are they doing? Sheep are, I guess, known to just kind of fall over and die at any given moment. I've had 1 sheep do that to me, and still perplexed to this day. But for the most part, sheep are prey animals, and so their natural instinct is to hide issues, because if they were out in the wild and they were coughing and not doing good, and they showed those signs, they would get eaten quickly. And so naturally, sheep are have to try to hide all of their symptoms, basic symptoms. I mean, when you get into sick sheep or not eating, that's the biggest one. If they're scoured, if their ears are down, and so when it comes to sheep health and kind of transfer or moving on from facilities, you have those individualized pens. It's very easy to tell if they didn't eat. It's very easy to tell if they didn't drink. It's very easy to tell if they're scouring, if something is not right in their pens. And a lot of times, their food bucket will be the first thing that indicates a sickness of a sheep. And so when we have individualized, we're able to tell. And you're also able to monitor weight a whole lot better. We showed a 205-pound speckle-faced wether at our county this year, and his pen mate weighed 132. And the mom was like, "Why do you think that would happen?" I was like, "How many pens do you have?" She's like, "1. "How many feeders do you have?" "Oh, 2. "Yeah. I can tell you which one's eating." And so this year we have now 2 pens in their run. So that was a learning moment, which is always good to have. So, do you guys have any questions so far? I've just been talking and rambling.
When you talk about facilities, as far as like, at Foyle, we don't have an ag farm. I've got a kid that kind of lives in town and just kind of makeshift. Actually lives in Claremore, but what do you? We're just trying to create. We're trying to create something with some shade. How big? He's got 3 sheep. How big of a run? 16-foot panel length.
Well, like, man, when we built a show barn when I was showing, and it was 4 foot wide, and it was like 24 foot long, and that was really good for the sheep that we needed then. A lot of our pens, the majority of our pens, are going to be, they'll be 8 foot deep, because you can cut a 16 foot panel in half, and then they're going to be 4 to 5 foot wide, and that's what they're going to live in. I've got 300-pound yearling bucks that's what they live in right now, and they don't need a whole lot of space. I try to keep them enclosed. Just they tend to be a little tamer, and you don't need a whole lot of space as long as you kind of keep it clean. That'd be the one thing I'd kind of monitor. My kids that have those pens that are inside a barn and it's on concrete, hey, we got to clean those things. If they're on dirt, and I don't mind them being on dirt, you just got to watch mud holes and just basic stuff. I mean, easy stuff. Pin size, we've really kind of shut those pins down just in terms of being smaller, and it makes it a little easier to handle.
So what do you recommend if they are on dirt, as far as what do you do?
So my sheep at my house are on cedar fiber. So I actually just clean my barn and lay down a bunch of cedar fiber. They don't eat it. The flies don't. I'm not gonna say the flies don't like it. It smells good, and it's not as big. So like the flakes, like when you put down a bale or a bag of shavings, and it gets dirty. I mean, you've got quite a bit. And the cedar fiber, really, especially like my barn, if they're not on concrete and on the dirt, I just add more cedar fiber too.
Okay.
And sheep don't seem to eat it. It does get in their wool a little bit, and will get their legs. But that's another thing, leg wrapping, that we can talk about later, that's the most important.
Another question I had, and I know you were kind of geared maybe as far as those dual sheet for fall a little bit,
Yep.
the OIE. What about strictly kind of fall sheet, kind of what I've got? I mean, we were late in the ball game as far as we kind of had to get the age of sheep we could find.
Right.
We've got February's, but like our county's mid-September.
So your county would be like your premium sale.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and then in going to Tulsa, but the goal is to make premium sale at county. So some management techniques as far as those sheep.
Yeah. And the fall show versus the spring show, like OIE versus Tulsa, hey, it's similar. They're very competitive. But it's crazy if you really kind of back up and look at the weight differences. Tulsa, like your heavies are going to be 150. That's a big sheep for October. OIE, if you're showing 155-pound Dorset, you're in class 1, like you're a lightweight. And so in the fall, a lot of times, and I help some families that are pushing sheep towards the fall, and we like those sheep weighing, 110, July 1, and then just kind of monitoring from there. In the fall, because it's hot, those sheep tend to get staler quicker, especially if you get one fat. It's really hard to tone him back without just losing all your shape. And so in the fall, I mean, really, if you're 125 pounds, if you're 130 pounds, you're in the heat. And so that's kind of where you generally, I would say, maybe a touch bigger than that, but 125-pound sheep at a fall county is going to be should be the right weight. 125-pound sheep at a spring county, sometimes you get outmassed, outmatured. So, yeah.
What's out there feed-wise right now on buying weathers and getting started?
There's a lot. Showrite has the Nuco mix. There's the Charmison mix, the Charmison Gold. I feed Mormons. Mormons has a 15.5% protein, Purina has a 15% protein. Your Charleston Gold, I think, is going to be a 17% protein, and I don't know what the Nuco is. When we feed sheep, I try to keep the sheep feed simple. You know, we've had to feed hogs for the past couple years, and that just makes me want to cry at night. And so we feed sheep pretty simple. We will feed a base feed, and to me, it doesn't really matter what it is. As long as you can get it fresh and you can get it consistently, that's something that you know you want to probably look into. If you're having to drive 50 miles to go get your 2 bags of feed every week, if that's what a parent wants to do, I guess get after it, but that just doesn't sound consistent enough for me. And so we try to get something that's consistent and something that's fresh. And then past that, we basically just use, we feed a ton of Champion Drive, which is a Purina product. It's a 32% protein. My dad's families feed a ton of High Noon Shine 'em Up, and that is a high fat feed. I can't get High Noon in Stillwater, which kills me. So we feed cracked corn, like your $8 a bag cracked corn. And basically how we monitor those sheep, now there's a few other additives and supplements that you can throw in there for gut health, and you know, we feed Ultra Full to help with the flank line. But for the most part, we're going to feed our base feed, corn, and drive. And I'm going to feed them, like right now, all of our sheep are on a 1.25 can base. And they're going to stay on that for probably until I see them again, which some of them maybe May or August. But for the most part, it's a 1.25 can base.
Is that a pound?
Yes, yeah, 1.25 pound, yeah. And 1 pound coffee can. We actually feed the Mormons cups.
Yeah.
No, the Purina cups that come in the Champion Drive buckets.
Okay.
And we actually, up here, I feed a lot of Eskimo Joe's cups. Eskimo Joe's cup, it's a can and a half, it's a cup and a half Eskimo Joe cups. But so we feed a 1.25 can, and then when we start to say, okay, we're in the right way to be able to kind of finagle. If we get to August 1st, there's a show in Uluga that we go to every year, and I want those sheep weighing basically, 105 and down. And if we've got them at 88 or 85 pounds, we got plenty of room. And then we use our corn to increase our fat and our drive to increase our handle. And so if I've got sheep that I say, okay, we got to get him fatter, we get a cup and a quarter of base, we get a half a can of corn, and we get a 1/4 can of drive. As a 88 pounder or an 85 pounder, you may want to back that down to where it's like 1/3 of a deal of corn and I guess 1/6, a little bit of drive. But really, just because you don't want to screw up their guts. But really, that's how we finagle or change those sheep throughout the year. If I've got one that's, he's starting to get a little fat, then we'll swap it, cup and a quarter base, half can of drive, quarter. We've had sheep to the point that we were feeding a cup of base and a cup of drive and no corn because we got him a little juicy. But like I said, for the most part, that's what we feed. And like I said, we'll feed Ultra Full too, especially on the ewe-lambs, just to help with their flank lines. It's gotten to the point on the wethers. A majority of our wethers will see Ultra Full as well. And then when it comes to the supplements, man, there's a billion out there. The For You to Win, the Sawtooth has some. You got Candy. There's a ton of them out there, and I'm not going to say that they don't work. I have a hard time telling a kid, hey, you need to go buy this $100 bucket that you're going to feed a teaspoon of, which they're going to feed all year, granted. I don't know if I've seen enough consistent success with that. I had sheep on the For You to Win stuff last year because I knew the girl, she'd do it every day. And I was there at her house every other week because one of her sheep went eat. And may have been the sheep, may have nothing to do with that, but I don't know. Sheep get kind of finicky, and so we try to keep it pretty simple. The other thing that we try to do that I think is really good and really easy is we'll feed those sheep wet too. And so we'll add a cup of water. You have to build up to that, but we add a cup of water to their feed. It makes it a little easier when you change feeds, swap feeds, increase, decrease, just because that taste gets mixed and they can't really tell. And so it makes it a little simpler just to do those things. And when you get to a show, you don't have to drench near as much. I hate drenching sheep. So that's something that we try not to do too much. So,
What was the high noon product you said you used that I guess replaced your
Shine 'em up. Shine 'em up. So Shine 'em up, there's two of them. There's two supplements from High Noon. Shine 'em up, it comes in a bag. I would almost put it in my cereal bowl. Like, it smells so good. It is like steamed corn and oats. It smells really good, and sheep will kill it. They love eating that stuff. I've had sheep that have gone off feed, and I fed them straight Shine, and just to get something back in their guts, and they seem to go. And then Shine 'em up, or High Noon also has Original Glow. And Original Glow, I want to say, is 44% protein. The higher the protein, the more fat you're going to burn. Champion Drive's 32. We feed Original Glow to a lot of our whites, so Dorsets and Southdowns. Whites have thicker skin, so they just, and some of your specs, if they're actually true specs, but they're half Dorset, you're going to have some thick skin, and so we try to feed something with a little bit more protein just to try to make them handle a little bit better. So.
Handful of hay? Not?
Yeah. And we feed grass hay. My dad raises alfalfa, but alfalfa is a high protein. With grass hay, I really don't need any additive from that. Sheep are a ruminant animal, so they need what they call the scratch effect. They need something in their rumen to scratch their gut to keep their gut health good. But yeah, I feed just a small handful. It's good for them. They enjoy it, and it helps them feel better. But we only feed hay once a day. Some of my sheep right now they build little hay racks in the pen, put a bale in there or a flake in there, and let those sheep kind of eat on it whenever, which is just as good. So.
Even up into show day?
Yeah, you gotta watch that just for Phil. And when we go to a show, like when we come into Tulsa, if we're showing ewes at Tulsa, we come in on Friday, show on Saturday. Is that right? Yeah. So we come in on Friday. We're gonna feed. We'll probably feed half before we leave. We'll feed half when we get there. They can get their hay. We're going to bed them down, let them just kind of digest, relax, and then we'll feed full that evening and get your weights on, whatever. And then that day, show day, we feed quite a bit. Sometimes it gets you in a bind when you're not paying attention, but we feed, pretty regularly. We were second in the lightweight class in the city in the commercial we used this year, and I weighed that sheep out by like 4 pounds, like not even close. Fitch looked at me like, but it showed purebreds. I wasn't thinking about weights, and the kid popped him up, and I was like, yeah, go feed him, and she looked really good, but she was pretty full. So we don't feed a whole lot of hay show day, but prior to.
Yeah.
So the other thing I think is really, really important, fungus prevention on sheep is vital. And there's a million things out there. Ring Out has a soap, and I have some kids that use it pretty religiously, and it's really good. There's another product, I probably can't, I don't know if legally say it or whatever, but Cat Tan Captan is a fungicide that we buy off Amazon, and like CAPTIAN. It's like Captan 40 or Captan 50 or something. We mix that in water, and it kind of has a milky substance. And then we will take a brush and then take an OB glove, because you really don't. I don't think you want it on your skin. We take an OB glove, take a brush, and we Captan every sheet before we leave. Captan and then fluid film. And so fluid film is a lanolin-based solvent, and lanolin is the key oil that you got to get back in there for protection. So, but the Captan deal, because it'd be awesome if we could like stop fungus, because I hate fighting fungus, so I'd rather go to a hog show jackpot, because you can just load them, go home and unload them. But on the sheep side, the Captan stuff, I don't. It's definitely not like meant for sheep, but it is. We've seen very good results from that product. But I would again say that's something that you want to have a glove on, and then don't just like. My dad's the world's worst at it. He'll have 2 gloves on, and he'll take that brush, and then he'll just swipe it, and he'll throw Captan at the 5 kids that are standing right there. And it's like, dude, you gotta chill. Like, just brush. It's fine.
Does this say how to mix it, or how do you mix it?
So we get a 2.5 gallon bucket, get it about half full of water, and then some more, and then stir it around, and it looks milky.
Okay.
There is. I don't know. We have never. We get it. They come in. It comes in a bag, and then we've got it in little containers too. And I don't know. It seems to work, which is awesome. Like, and then we spray fluid film. Fluid film is something you can get at a John Deere dealership. John Deere guys here at Florida always give me a hard time because I'll come in and buy like 12 cans. Oh, go to another show. Yep. And then on the fluid film, I literally give it to the 2 older kids, just so they can teach the younger kids. They'll take 2 cans, start at the ears, and work all the way down. And once they get in fluid film, get him out of the way, put a tube on him, put a blanket on him, put him up. So.
Is this just to prevent fungus?
Yeah. Once you get it.
You washed, you do the Captan before you leave.
So they will wash at home. They will wash like 2 days later with the ring out. I would say half my kids do that. And the ones that did last year didn't have fungus. The ones that didn't do that last year also didn't have fungus. So that's what I don't know if it worked, but I think the ring out's good. But we would show it at the show, and then after that sheep is done, if I've got kids that are ready to go home, they will probably Captan before they put that sheep in the trailer. A lot of the times they put 2 blankets back on, and then they're like, oh crap, we gotta Captan this thing. And then after the show, every sheep gets tied to the trailer, and then I'll have Captan come through, clean them up, and then those kids need to put 2 blankets back on. And then a couple days later, if they do that. So another thing we do for fungus prevention, I'll shear with fines or surgicals. I'll shear them with fines or surgicals at Tulsa, our county, and Hawaii. Everything else I shear with a 20 or a 13. The downfall to that is I don't let any of my kids shear with a 13. I've got a set of Lister Fusions that have, it's called a goat head on the top of the, it's not your regular blade or head, but it's got a cutter and a comb, and I'll shear a bunch of them with 13s. It just gives you a little bit more protection, and sheep are kind of different than some of your other species. Goats are similar to it, but sheep are handled, and if you guys have the opportunity to judge a show, whatever, do those things, there's a big difference between a fresh one and a stale one. And it's a lot of what we're trying to do is keep as much moisture, as much freshness in that sheep's skin while making them crisp enough. Easy to keep moisture in a fat one, just because there's a lot of stuff there. But for the most part, we don't shear. If we go to that jackpot in August, I'll run a set of 13s over them, and we'll go. That has hurt me one time. We went to a jackpot show. We were last in every class. We had 2 sheep that weren't dead last in their class, and that's because those 2 sheep had 2 other Ripley sheep in that class. And so we were last, next to last, and literally, I know the guy that judged it, and he was just like, "Yeah, man, like those, you didn't come to the show ready to show."
Just
like,
because it didn't look fresh enough for him, or?
No, because they had wool.
But that's what I said, it just didn't have
Yeah,
that.
it just bothered
show
me
day
that
pop.
they weren't show day. Yeah, they weren't show ready. And like we go to jackpots, we have no desire to win a jackpot. I buy 0 sheep to win jackpots. And when we go to a jackpot, we are going there so those kids learn how to get one ready. They learn how to get into the ring. They learn who to pay attention to, and they learn how to kind of handle what they're doing. We don't go to win, which maybe sounds bad, but we're not. Our goal is not some podunk jackpot in November. I would say the other, I kind of alluded to it, show day stuff. I do teach my kids to watch from the side. And I think there's some mixed reviews about that. I want my kids to be able to pay attention to me, the judge, and their sheep. Those are the 3 things they've got to pay attention to. They need to find me, find the judge, pay attention to their sheep. We see it every day, and no matter what sport you go to, there's a coach on the sideline helping that kid. And I've had some people turn around to me and like, "Hey, you can't be helping him." I'm like, "Well, hey, he paid $1,500 for that sheep. He's a 9-year-old kid, and he is just glad, his pants are tied. So, like, yeah, if I need to help him, I'm gonna help him." And so, don't go over the ring and murder a kid, but I would say definitely have something to where that kid gets some help. This still is tough. And the fact that we got to put 9-year-olds against 18-year-olds makes it tougher. And that's something that I think you've got to be prepared to do and prepared to help, and just so they kind of have some help. The other thing, are we about out of time?
Yeah.
No. What time is it?
It's 2:50.
Okay. Wrapping legs is a must anymore. We have no problem telling kids that they need to go walk their pigs 5 times a day for 20 minutes a day. But it's amazing how many kids I'll talk to that they're buying sheep from me. They're like, "Oh man, we don't have time to wrap legs." Yeah, you need to. It's gotten to the point where it's a must. Leg wrapping is very, very important. Weaver makes 2 types of leg wraps. They make a purple one that is stretchy, and that is a no. That is a bad deal. Those things will suck down too tight, get their legs too tight, and then pull all the hair. They make a fleece wrap. Any fleece wrap is more beneficial. I have kids that will cut horse polo wraps in half, and I don't know if that's long ways or they cut them in half.
It's the length. If you can find the mini pony ones,
Yeah.
they fit perfect, but the big horse ones, you can just cut them.
Cut, yeah. And so leg wraps are a must. And they've got to rinse and take care of legs. I had kids last year, they would load their sheep up and go to our show barn once a week. But it was something, blowers are expensive, I get it. Stands are expensive, I get it. But at the same time, you can buy a blower for, what do they cost now? $320, $340. You can sell it for $250 after 3 years. And then treadmills, these things are athletes, and they need to be treated like it. Treadmills are important. If you have to hand make a treadmill from a human treadmill, there's a lot of things to that. We built one that I think worked really, really well. When their front feet are on a platform, because you don't want their front feet going backwards, you want their front feet on a platform. Make sure that platform has a hinge on it, because when their back legs hit that platform, it needs to pop out, where you're going to get back feet under a platform that yank them under. So, okay. Any questions about that? I know that was very quick, but I think those two things are a must anymore. You gotta wrap legs, and I think you gotta have some form of exercise. Even if you're walking or doing something, a treadmill is major beneficial. If you see a treadmill or a Ty Allen makes the treadmills the best ones. If you see one on Facebook that's listed under 2,000, buy it. Just don't even if you don't have a family ready for it, if you need a family, call me, buy it. If it's 12 years old, I'd buy it, because those things don't seem to lose value. And we bought one for $17.50, and the people I was with when I saw it on Facebook, it was on there for like 2 minutes, and we're like, what is wrong? And I was like, I got this treadmill, I gotta buy it. Luckily we got it, but I've not found another one. So treadmills are very, very important, because these things, they've got to be fat enough and mature enough to have enough mass, and then you've got to tread them hard enough to be hard enough and crisp enough. Right? Any other questions?
I got one.
Okay.
Blankets versus socks versus nothing.
Nothing is not good.
All the time?
We use a tube, so if we shear, our month of October and November, so we'll show Tulsa, and then we're off, and then we'll show like that second week in November. So we show Tulsa as soon as we shear them. We get them off the stand. Cornhuskers lotion is one of my favorites because of the smell, and then Mane and Tail has a conditioner, and I buy that by the gallon. And as soon as we get them off the stand, I just dump a very thick strip on their back, and I rub conditioner back into their skin, and then we put a tube on, and then we put a blanket on. And if we're going to Tulsa and it's 105 degrees outside, they'll have a tube and a blanket on. They'll probably, preferably like a Pro Cool. A lot of your blankets anymore are not that thick, so they're fine. After Tulsa, the blanket stays on for about 10 days. Or the tube stays on for about 10 days. And then we pull the tube and the blanket doesn't come back off. Really, when we go to the jackpot show in August, we put tubes and blankets on their sheep, and the blanket doesn't come off until they walk them to the truck at OYE. And they got, their wool is not thick enough to truly stop anything. Pro Cools, I don't know who makes the Pro Cools. They're really, really good. And then Weaver makes a under blanket, is what it's called. It's basically a wool. It's thick. You guys that show all the way to the spring. When it gets cold, if you want to go to a jackpot show, a lot of times we won't if it's too cold, if my kids and sheep are too exposed to the elements. But if we go to our county and it's cold, the under blankets are really good. We'll put a tube, under blanket, big canvas. Yeah, and my kids are always, they don't appreciate it, but it's like, hey, when we go to OYE or we go to Tulsa and we're out there and they're going to do the classification, as soon as they get off that dirt, they need to have a blanket on. They don't need to walk through that barn without a blanket. I've seen kids at some of the jackpots we go to, and they'll show that sheep, and they'll go throw him in the pen without a blanket. They'll go get their next sheep. 45 minutes will show him, and then they put him up. And the other sheep's been standing there without a blanket for an hour. You're killing him. Their skin is so delicate, and it's got to be kind of right that they need something. So we always put tubes, and then always put blankets. So,
All right.
yeah. Any other questions? Okay.
That deal popped up in an hour ago.